It's your boy, the Versace Summer. We're here with another episode of VSW podcasting tonight. We got a very, very special guest, the one and only Sex. I don't even know how to pronounce it with all those X's. SeXXXy.
Yes.
Welcome.
How's it going, man? You good? Everyone good?
I'm golden right now. I am golden.
Are you feeling a little baked too?
Baby, I had like this Cheech and Chong thing, man. It was like part Labrador in there. It was good. It was good, and I'm ready to go.
Awesome, man. I don't do the Cheech and Chong, but I do the Cheech and Schlong. So yeah, everybody's smoking my pole, if you know what I'm saying.
Well, I mean, we've been doing that since what? Since the Attitude Era, right?
Yeah.
Been smoking somebody's pipe. So, I mean, I have to say, I might have been living under a rock, maybe so stoned. I try to cover a lot of wrestling. I really do. From Maine all the way, I try to venture out into the Jersey area when I can get out there. But, I just started seeing shows with you. And man, am I impressed. Like, what a hell of a wrestler.
Well, so I mean, I've been around forever. I've been around in the black and white days wrestling. So it's been a long fucking time. I'm like clocking in over 25 years, man. But I'd be in and out of the Jersey area, Philly. And again, the first time that I hit Jersey was for Jersey All Pro. That was right after a debut at Combat Zone Wrestling, and that dates back to 2004. So
wow.
Exactly, man. I'm going way back. And people
have like 20 years, right? 20 years now. We're in 2024.
Yeah, exactly. So it's my anniversary. Actually, I'm coming back to Jersey. So everybody, boys and girls, especially your hot moms, your MILFs, bring them down because I'll be at the H2O Wrestling Center. I'll be hitting up there on May 29th, I think, or May 30th. It's a Thursday. For Sean Henderson presents his birthday bash. So
now, I have to say, I've seen some of your outfits. You must be like the only one not sweating balls in that arena that night because, like, it gets hot in there. It gets really hot. I went there to the IWTV 100, and it was a double show with Leapfrog, and they shut the doors. All of a sudden, it was like an oven. Every 10 minutes, it get like 10 degrees up. People start getting more water. People start sweating. My friend's like taking his shirt off, trying to drench it out. I'm like, we're gonna get cooked in here. But what a place! What an action-packed arena to even be in because it's exciting once you walk in the doors.
Yeah, and you know what? But again, there's another problem is when you do a show in the wintertime, then I'm looking average. I'm looking like every other jabroni in the fucking place. Because people see I'm saying, look, your cock looks normal size. I'm like, look, dude, it's fucking cold right now. There's a draft. Close the door, man.
The shrinkage is a bitch. And there's no way to kayfabe that. It just happens.
No, that's the thing. When you see a girl and she has a fucking push-up bra or something, like, I'm thinking I'm gonna get in those panties and I'm gonna get those big tits, and then they take it off and they got all the padding. So like that's one thing that pissed me off when I was younger. I like to, if I'm going somewhere to buy something, I like to see the goods. I like to go to the grocery store. I like to feel my melons. You know what I'm saying? I like to get in there, smell them. They're ripe. They're ready to go. I want to have them.
When I check my eggs, I touch every fucking egg in the dozen. I make
exactly.
Sure
that's what I'm saying. So I'm the same thing. I'm like, I don't want to be a phony. I'm going to show my baloney. And that's why, what you see is what you get. And then if you play with it a little bit, the ladies know, they'll get a whole lot more.
So let me ask you something. When you started back in the day, where'd you start training out of?
So all the way, I'm in Canada. Some people might think I'm living in an igloo. It's not that much colder than Jersey, than New York.
No, I like Canada. Canada's nice. It's actually the summer. Like I was in Toronto a couple summers ago. It's like summer.
There you go. Yeah, we're like we talk about we're a hockey town. I live in Montreal, So when if anyone mentions during the hockey season Toronto, oh boy, man, you're gonna make some enemies. That's why, because again, our hockey team is our hockey team is a lot better than Toronto, except we didn't make the playoffs this year. So maybe they made some bad decisions. But enough of that.
I don't watch. I'll be honest. I don't watch hockey, but I'll give you this: Montreal got better weed.
Oh man, there you go. Thank you, man.
We got say that. I tried both, and Montreal does got the better weed. So you get my thumbs up on that. But no, it was just a quick drive. You know, it's quicker to drive over the border, you know, and get over there than it is to drive into Montreal. But you know, Canada is nice. So you started out that way. Is that where you're from originally? Grown up?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I had to cross the border because I had too many criminal records. Too many people are after me. So no, I'm kidding. I started down here. It took me probably about, I think, 5 years in the business, 4 or 5 before my first time going to the States. And again, when you come from another country, I was like, man, this is a mecca of wrestling. You know, the U.S., this is a big deal, especially combat zone wrestling. So when you're doing your first, your debut for combat zone wrestling, and my second show down there was at the old ECW arena. So already I had some big shoes to fill. I had some big expectations, but man, we made it happen, and been going back ever since to a lot of the places. I've wrestled in man, I'm trying to remember all the states I've done for, like IWA Mid South, IWA Deep South, so Jersey All Pro, Combat Zone Wrestling, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. Wrestled for and a lot of federations that closed down too in the Massachusetts area. In man, geez, where have I been? I've been in Tennessee too, man. Redneck capital, Tennessee. Man, yeah, I've been around. I've even done a show for the hardcore for the hardcore soldiers out there. I've even done a show for way back before I knew his reputation, Mr. California. So I did a show for him way back in the day too. Dude, you still owe me some money, man.
Now, when you came out back then, was it like the same kind of style? SeXXXy, this is what I want to be. This is what I want to do.
Yeah, man, and I think some places were booking me more for the deathmatch scene. And then again, when some people saw that, man, this guy can do some funny shit also. And I could also push the envelope sex-wise, like you booked me against Mickey Knuckles, and we were at the, last year, and people were still talking about that. They're expecting to have a fucking bloody match, and instead we just drank alcohol and made out in the ring, and the people fucking loved it, though. They talked about it because, they were like, they know what we did in the past, but then they saw what we could do, and nobody expected it. We threw them a curveball. Just like my cock is a little curved, we threw them a curveball. So everybody got cocked.
Mickey Knuckles, another legend in the industry, man. Like so many, and that's the beauty of you getting to travel like that, because there's so many names that, like, I mean, granted, I live in New England. We're blessed. We get a lot of talent. A lot of talent gets brought here, between Beyond Wrestling and Worcester, and we got Limitless Wrestling in Maine. A lot of big name talent. People come in and out, in and out. It's great, but there's still a whole other country of wrestling that people don't travel, or can't travel, or just local greatness. And it's like sometimes you got to go out there to see everything or travel, and it's great to get out there because you do work names that you're not going to get to see anywhere.
But that's the best part too, I feel, is that, like, from state to state or from country to country, you got dream matches that people never thought that would happen. Like again, at the end of the month, it's going to be me versus Jimmy Lloyd. First time ever a one-on-one. So I'm excited. I know he's excited. What kind of match are we going to do? We're going to find out that night. Are we going to fucking fuck each other up? Or are we going to fucking, do a little more comedy in there? What are we going to do? We don't even know. It's going to be crazy. So.
But now let me ask you something, because when you do push it to the envelope, but I'm full for it because I believe wrestling is very just, A, it's subjective, B, there's different variations. Like, for instance, I'm not going to bring my 5-year-old to a GCW show, but I am going to bring him to the one at the VSW that's got the hometown heroes. I might not let you know what I'm saying. So there's a place and time for everything. But
Exactly.
you know, in wrestling where everything is so scrutinized today, how do you keep that fine line without people just being like, "Oh, fucking dude went over the edge"?
I don't give a shit. When you get to my age, I don't think I can get canceled. That's the weird thing. I mean, I've been going over the edge, and I've been taking a shit off the edge of the cliff. That's the thing. Like, dude, I was in Philly for the Mania week, not too long ago, and we did the GCW clusterfuck, and all I wanted to do was get fucking naked, and that's what I did. And I didn't win the clusterfuck. It was Microman won it, but I got eliminated. Went over the top rope. My hands are holding my manhood, and I still went over the top rope and flipped out of the ring and shit. But I made a lot of people laugh. I made a lot of people have a good time. Wrestlers included too. So when I'm there, I want to give my unique twist, my unique take on what I do. Like, and I probably put a little less wrestling than I used to, but again, that's with the age. You got to conserve yourself, and you got to wrestle smarter, not harder.
Yeah, you gotta. Especially if
Exactly.
you're doing shows, you're not going to do the acrobatics. You're not going to do all that. If you can get away with, being funny or doing some of the humor, you see that even in the big leagues. I mean, look at R-Truth and stuff. He does great wrestling, but he also does mostly comedy and this and that. I'm just saying, underfoot, we see some scumbags in the industry, 2020 especially. Joey Ryan being one of them. I'll never forget it. The day he got canceled, fucking, like it all hit the news, is the day that an autograph that I bought from him came in the mail. I'm just like, it came in, I take it, I fucking rip it, and I just go along my day. I'm like, I'm fucking A. I'm like, but that's what I'm saying. Like, sometimes people go too far. Those are just come back behind the scenes. You know
You're
what
right.
I mean?
I'll go too far. I'll go over the limit in the ring for the show, for the sake of the show. But again, when it comes to private life, I'm kind of quiet. I'm kind of boring. But when there's a camera on me and I'm at a show, I'm like every performer, we're like
That's the
multiplying.
character, man. You're there. You're larger than life, and
Yeah,
the consequence isn't there because there's no meaning behind it except to entertain or to be part of the show. And
yeah,
when that curtain, you get behind the curtain, you're not still flapping your dick around in people's faces and going, "Hey, check this out." The tricks are over for the most part. At least, I mean, I'm guessing.
yeah.
But you do hear about it. But me personally, I enjoy seeing the maturer side in wrestling. I grew up, early wrestling. I grew up with people like King Kong Bundy and kind of grew into it, as a kid. I then saw people like, Doink the Clown and other people that get me, at that age. And then, bam, I hit puberty and fucking, DX is coming out. I'm going to shows. People are showing tits. Fucking, there's tits on TV. There's tits everywhere. Pamela Anderson, this one, that one, Sable. And I'm at that age level. So, like, then wrestling fucking for me got boring as shit. It all turned PG. And I was like, I'm out. And I didn't come back until, I started getting into the indie scene because that's where all the action was. GCW, all that shit was like more mature. I'll never forget, I think, a Suburban Fight Pro fight. And it was like in a club, in a bar, and it was just, it was Matt Cross versus somebody. And man, they were just going at it. And it was just the coolest thing because it wasn't my traditional wrestling that I had in my head. It wasn't this overproduced TV shit. It was fucking raw fucking wrestling. It was like, no, this is for me now. So I started checking out that scene and seeing like the more mature side. So that's why I said, like, I really appreciate this side because not everybody can do that.
And you're right up in the action too. You're not sitting up in the nosebleeds. You're in there where you go to indie shows and you sit in the first three rows and you might have a wrestler fall on your lap or do a flip over the ring and stuff and come right on top of you. So that's the fun part that you can't get at these big mass produced shows. So and even I tell people, where do you think those guys got started from? They didn't all just pop in there. A lot of them had done the circuit, had been around, and then they got spotted and stuff. So that's when I tell people, come see these indie shows. Even if you think it's a lower quality, come out because all the guys that you see on TV have to start somewhere. And
I
that's
mean, we've been around 20 years, at least. What is some? You've seen them all, probably. I think most of the people you've seen on today have been on that industry, unless they've come strictly and straight from WWE headquarters.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, my first match at the ECW arena was they called it the Canadian Four Way, because they had 4 Canadian guys and they put us in a 4-way at Combat Zone Wrestling, and they said, let's see what they got. So again, this came about. I'll just do the backstory. So my first time Combat Zone Wrestling, Tournament Death 3, I pierced my artery, and as I'm squeezing my arm, I'm realizing that I could push the blood higher. So I push the blood and I make it squirt in my mouth like a water fountain. That made me go viral right then. And so I didn't even know what viral meant back. I thought like I caught a sexually transmitted disease or something. And then they're like, no, it's when you're big on the computer and stuff. So I was like, holy shit. A couple months later, after I'm recovered, Combat Zone Wrestling gets me at the ECW arena, Canadian 4-way. So there's myself, SeXXXy, and 2 other guys that are in WWE right now, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. So, like I'm telling you, man, everyone's got to start somewhere. So it's still pretty cool, man.
I mean, eight years ago, if you was up in Maine, you catch MJF running wild today on TV. Sasha Banks now, Mercedes, she trained where, New England Pro Wrestling Academy, about 45 minutes from my house.
Yeah.
She goes today. These guys and girls will still stop by and say hello. Everybody comes somewhere. That's why I like the indie scene so much, because I also like to see the come up. I like to see, these guys and girls that are working, these weekend shows 3-4 times, and all of a sudden they get the break, and you witness it. You watch it unfold. Well, you watch their character grow to such a level because you remember how they were there, and then they just keep growing and growing and growing and just keep, maturing, and then bam, it's just like, oh, they hit. And it's like, damn, look at how far they came. And it's amazing. It's amazing to see.
It's like the same growth. I could compare it to music or even porn. Like, you go see some of your favorite bands, or when they're local and they're starting out, and then when they stay in the game. Like, they don't break up, and they stay together. They tough it out. They might change the style of music a little bit. But, then you got buddies that are doing arena shows. It's crazy. When you start out, you got to sell your tickets to your friends. You got to bring all your speakers, your equipment and stuff. Same as pro wrestling, where we're starting out doing small venues and everything, and you hope to one day make it big. I some girls that were doing porn, and stuff, and they start out, they got to do everything. Even some of them, you bang them in high school or whatever, and then they stay in the game. They're fucking everybody. And then they're doing porn, and then they're famous. And you're like, you write to them again on Instagram, and you're like, hey, remember we had sex 15 years ago? You want to go again? They're like, get the fuck out of here. So, some people, the attitudes change and stuff. They're like, no, I remember you fucking came all over my face and then threw me out. And I was like, yeah, I'm sorry about that. I've changed. But they're like, it's too late now. So
would you say like Pornhub is the indie scene of like the porn world?
Exactly. But now there's maybe too much. So some of them that aren't good at porn, they go on Pornhub. Like, there's like too many wrestling federations that open up, sometimes with untrained people. And that's the same thing. Because I love a good storyline in wrestling and in porn. And that's what I grew up on. It wasn't just these shots of these gonzo films of cut scene and the scene and the scene. There'd be like a whole story. They're on a pirate ship, and the girls are pirates too. And then they're like, hey, I'm going to steal your booty. And then they're fucking with the pirate hat on. And I like the storyline,
You had the whole HBO flicks, those late night flicks that would tell you the tale.
I like that. That's why, the same as wrestling, when you got a good story, man, you're going to go buy into the pay-per-view. When it's just throwing matches like that, and then like, oh, there's no build-up, there's no, there's no story, it's kind of, it loses my interest. And I feel now, I've mentioned this before, that we're like in a TikTok society where people need to see 15 seconds, 20-second shots. And if it's longer than that, you lose their interest. So that's what's evolved in wrestling too, where you can't draw out certain moves for a long, long time. You got to really cut and shoot to something else, because you could lose their attention.
People are just so focused on getting that 15-second clip, and that's the viral clip. It ain't the match, it ain't the pin, it ain't the build-up story that people remember. It's that, one, flip off the top that lands, this way, that hits it. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing for the industry because, I remember going to shows when there was, Polaroid cameras and a lot of signs. I remember when there was just a lot of signs and a lot of tits. Nobody even
Yeah.
cared about cameras. Nobody would bring a camera. Nobody thought of it. They just were like, let's just see what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
And then as time has evolved, and there's channels, granted, I'm one of them. I like to collect footage because I like to show shorts. And I'll show them off and I tag the people and it gets eyes and ears on those small indie scene wrestlers because sometimes my YouTube does better than they might be able to do, and that's fine. And that's why I started this podcast because I was going to these local shows and I was seeing these guys and girls kicking ass every weekend, but they sometimes weren't getting eyes and ears. Like, what can I fucking do? I was like, well, I can start a podcast, I can interview them, I can show their clips off, and let's see where it goes. But at the same time, it kind of does lose that storyline. It's like, how do you build it up? How do you keep their attention from boom, 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 while telling a good story? Because then you're gonna have the people that don't care about the boom, boom, boom. They're just gonna be like, yo, that story sucks. What the fuck was that?
I like to wrestle like I make love to women. You gotta have the build up, some foreplay, before you hit the climax. But then after the climax, it's good night. It's time to go to bed. So the same as my matches too. When they reach that high peak and I explode, that's about it after. You got some guys that are exploding way too many times. Those are the young guys. But they can do that. They can fucking do
that. That's the thing. Somebody told me, like, they told me early on, you want the show to be like that. You want to get them going, get them up, get them slowly going, and before the last match, get them to pop. You don't want them to fucking come in the first match and then be like, oh, fuck, I'm tired of going to bed. Nah, you gotta wait, you gotta drag it out slowly, get it right to the end.
Yeah, well, that's why, and a good promoter will have that buildup of like, he knows the values of each wrestler and where to put them on the card. But like, again, some of the younger guys can do like 10 different false finishes and stuff like that. And that's, the crowd will pop at every one of them. I got probably a lot less left in the tank. I mean, if I was a cat, I'm running on my last life. I've wasted 8 of them already. You can see with a lot of old clips, like where I thought I was dead, but I'm still kicking. I'm still around. I don't know how, but they probably got me on life support or something. But one of my secrets is drinking virgin blood. That's very important to keep that good look, that complexion. Yeah.
Don't they have a name for it? Isn't it like drama something? It's somewhere that the elites use. But yeah, it really does work, huh?
Yeah.
Well, hey, whatever works, and you keep sharing the game,
But you're only as young as the women you're having sex with, so that's really important too.
Oh shit! I might have been doing that wrong too. Now, I've always been with all the women. Shit, I might have to rethink my strategy. But yeah, that's the thing though. You see, like I said, you got me thinking about all the people that I've screwed that are old as shit.
No, and I love my share of older women too, because already they'll know there's no strings attached. They know how to cook, and after that they'll read you a bedtime story before you go to bed. So it's wonderful.
Oh yes. And then if they have a kid, you might get a fruit snack. There's all sorts of perks and different things you can find along the way. But yeah, you were mentioning Mickey Knuckles earlier. And some guys are good at it, some guys aren't. What's your take on intergender wrestling? How do you feel on it?
I'm good with it, and I think I'm one of the originators of it too, because again, it goes good with my character. My character works great. And good wrestlers, great wrestlers can pull great matches out too. If everyone's hitting hard, if everyone's doing what they need to do, it's got to still be credible, right? It is pro wrestling, but it still has to have some credibility. And there'll be people that like shit on Kenny Omega way back in the day when he wrestled like a 9-year-old girl. I loved that match. I thought it was genius. I thought it was great because he didn't make her do things that wouldn't make sense. And he's really kind of picking her up like nothing and bullying her. But it's still like, it made sense. And only a true artist can do that. I knew a lot of people that were against it and were like, well, I can't wrestle her because I'd squash her in 30 seconds. hey man, like you could have seen that in the schoolyard. A smaller kid sometimes beating up a bigger kid. It happens, man. It's just like a boxer or whatever. You get lucky, you get some lucky shots in. If it's done properly, everything could be credible. Everything could be sold. And look at Rey Mysterio Jr. Again, a super small guy. He's wrestled like Kevin Nash, Big Show, some giants. He's smaller than a kid. It looks like he's smaller, but he still makes it credible, man. Like the comebacks, the action, the reversals and stuff like that. So that's what I'm saying. I think, especially in the times where we're in now, why not? And you got some girls look at like Jordan Grace and stuff like that. She can kick the shit out of any guy. You know what I'm saying? So there's like a lot of women that
even Gabby Fletcher. She plays fucking football. She'll fucking stomp you down.
Hell yeah!
I mean, the girls today aren't the pinup models we had in the early 2000s. These people have been trained to fight.
Yeah,
Masha Slamovich will snap your neck.
There you go. Yeah.
There's no joke about it. These people, and that's the thing, I love intergender wrestling. I think when it's done right and beautiful, if it's done sloppy and wrong, it looks like shit. But when it's done right and the story's there and everything is there, and like you said, the physics are there, everything's, looking like how it should. But granted, we are in times where girls are stronger than guys, and there are girls that train harder than guys. The physiques in wrestling are much different than they were probably when you started. Now you have a range of physiques. There's small guys that are 5'8", there's big guys that are 6'8". There's everywhere in between. There's not just the land of the big.
That makes it more interesting. I kind of feel like one of the first UFC, it was before UFC, or even the first UFC, I think too, they had like, it was no weight class. You had, and I thought that made it interesting. It was more about the discipline that they're studying. Is grappling gonna beat jiu-jitsu? Is karate gonna overpower Muay Thai? Like it's a cool concept, which now they made it into weight classes, which it's also very great to watch too. But the level of fighting, where it used to be, one discipline, now everybody, to be great, you got to know 5 different disciplines if you want to win, because everybody knows everything. That's the thing, like you said, the game has gone up. The girls are training more, and sometimes they train harder than the guys. So you could have interesting matches, and I think it's hot too. I think like anyone who trains or anyone who's passionate about something, it makes them hot. So like, whatever it is that someone's passionate about, like go for it. If they're really good at it, it's cool, man. And if it's entertaining as fuck, I want to see that too. If some guy's running his mouth how he'll kick every girl's ass and the girl kicks his ass, there's a story right there, man. It's all the way back to Andy Kaufman doing that stuff, the intergender matches, and being a champion for so long until like, Jerry King Lawler pile drives him and breaks his neck, and then they do a whole theatrical thing. It's entertainment, it's a storyline, and that's what it is in the end, So if people are gonna keep watching it, we're gonna keep doing it.
No, and like I said, I find it really entertaining. You got people like Silent Stand that run whole shows with intergender bonanza. You see it. You just don't. The only place you don't see it, honestly, you don't see it on any main promotions, main TV promotion. You'll never see it in WWE, AEW. When and I'll get those fans that will like write on my video, like, "Oh, this is domestic abuse. This is violence against women. This is that." But like, they signed up for the sport. They're wrestling just as hard as they are. Like, everybody knows what's involved here. And, not to break the kayfabe, obviously, but you know what I'm saying? Like, everybody's a willing participant. It's not like the promoter's going, hey, you, him, her, now, fight. Like, everybody knows who they're fighting. They're going to ask you, you comfortable with this? Are you fine with this? And most of, some of the times they're working husbands and wives. They're working boyfriends and girlfriends. They're working that angle. Or they're working strangers and friends. Or they're working people that they just know are decent people.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember the last one that I remember where it was a really booked match that I was looking forward to. I think it was Jeff Jarrett versus China. Other than that, I think Nicole Bass had wrestled some guys, but it wasn't that interesting. I don't know if it happened maybe in WCW, if there was anything. Maybe a couple things with but it was always like I think that China and Double
China
J.
was the forerunner, yeah. She's the one that brought that to there in that era. Then when she was, leather, it's like that kind of went away. They'll have the mixed tag matches, which is great. But when the girls tag, the girls come in. The guys tag, the guys come in.
They don't want to. I think that they don't want to lose big sponsors. They don't want to step on any toes. And yeah, if you got all the people that don't know wrestling that start saying, "Hey, this is domestic abuse," even though a lot of times the girls are the one doing the ass kicking, and that's important too. You can't just show, maybe on the mainstream, especially, the guy dominating the woman. Do you remember actually when I think China would wrestle, or when she'd run in or hit a guy, or a guy would hit her, they would have to pan over to the camera to the crowd shots. They weren't allowed to show it back in the day. I remember that as a kid. I'm like, why are they cutting the fight? What's going on? But I think they're still scared of that on the mainstream level, that they're going to lose sponsors, they're going to lose fans. But it's an empowering thing where you have a lot of little girls that are wrestling fans now more than ever, and they see a girl beat up a guy too. They're like, man, anything's possible. I think it's a positive message that it kind of sends out, because all the kids that watch wrestling, they know that fighting is not going to solve the problems, because they know they're going for a show. So if you have a girl against the guy, I think they can differentiate that. And I think any good parenting can tell them, hey, man, it's a show, or whatever. And that's it. Like,
I think we're in the day and age now that wrestling, when you go to these young girls are going to a WrestleMania event or something, whether it be a fight or not, they're at the level of it being a sporting event that, we're here to see our idols, we're here to see this. And, there is something empowering about seeing these women come out. I've been to meet and greets. I've seen little girls in lines for miles long waiting to meet, Sasha Banks and stuff, because that's who they want to be when they grow up. Seeing them win titles is great. Seeing women's titles is great. But I think personally it would be great seeing them beat the men's champion in front of, pay-per-view, and come home with the women's title, the men's title, and be like, look what I just did. I mean, I don't know. That sends a pretty powerful message across the board. But, that's just me personally. Like I said, I'm a big fan of intergender. Like I said, I when it's done right. And there's only some people that can do it. Some people can, and some people don't want to, and some people feel awkward with it, and some people like it's not right, or it doesn't make sense. But in the world of wrestling, it makes perfectly sense, because everybody's wrestling in the same promotion.
Yeah. And I think there was one other person that I thought had a cool take on it, was Becky Lynch, where she was just calling herself the Man. And I thought that was cool also. And that's as close as maybe they were going to tease it. But when will we see another intergender match in WWE or in AEW or something like that? I'm not sure. It might be like a mixed tag, like you said. When they tag, they switch it up. But like to see a one-on-one match, I don't know.
It's a shame though, because not even in WWE and AEW, they have some of the best intergender workers out there. I mean, you got Orange Cassidy, you got Chris Statlander. Those two alone could have great killer matches against each other. I've seen it. On the local scene, because the local scene's thriving when intergender matches. If they can get the workers, they'll put them in. That stuff flies on the internet. It zooms, and if it's done right, like I said, you'll go viral with it.
Yeah,
go way up there in views, and there's a lot of good people out there. But they just, like I said, it is that sponsors, it is that kind of money, and it is kind of taking a risk, especially when you're on a TV channel and you got that many eyes. The indie scene gets eyes, but it's not that many eyes.
My first match actually at Game Changer Wrestling was against Sage Sin, and the Pumpkin Queen. And again, I think she's maybe taking a pause of wrestling, or I'm not sure. She has 2 kids now and stuff. But that was my intro there, and I was like, we're gonna have a lot of fun. We're gonna tear it up. And since then, actually, I'll be back Game Changer Wrestling. They're coming to my neck of the woods, and then I'm going down there. I think we're doing it in June, so I'm looking forward to that also. But yeah, man, anyone with any common sense and a head on their shoulders can do a great match wrestling wise. I'm trying to think of so many examples, and they're like, you got a guy like Joey Janela who could put a great show together, and that I always think is a genius in the ring and outside the ring, because he knows the past and he knows he's got his thumb on the pulse for the future too. So you know, it's great. I saw Masha. We were talking about Masha before. Slamovich wrestles Mike Speedball Bailey, and man, like again, great match. They fucking tore off the tarp. There was like they took off the boards of the ring and everything. Like, you know, man, it was great. It was great.
Yeah, I mean GCW, I have to say, really does. It's something about it. I don't know. It has a different vibe in wrestling than any of the other promotions. You know, you can watch MLW, Ring of Honor, Impact, WWE, AEW, all your indie shows, but there's just something about GCW. And it's more than just the death matches because they, you know, over the years now, I feel like you got your death match fighters, you got your death match, you got your blood and guts, but you're starting to get really, really good, talented, technical wrestlers over there too.
Yeah.
And the next generation of superstars are both. They're both in, great at deathmatch, but they're also both great technical wrestlers. So now you're getting a blended show, and you're getting crowds of people that you weren't getting before because they were, either turned off by all death matches, and now they're getting into it because you got this beautiful blend.
Yeah, it's a good blend of everything, and I like that. I like seeing hybrid wrestlers, people that could do a little bit of everything. And even when I went to Japan, it was like 3 tours that I did, and my first time when they booked me, the second and third time they were putting me up against a lot of women because they knew as my character what I can bring, what I can do is original stuff, and that was a lot of fun for me. It just opens up more opportunities where if you just wrestle the same type of people all the time, certain styles, you can't think outside the box. I like to fucking think outside of wrestling. It's more like, what can I do that'll be different? What can I do that'll be unique that the people will remember me? Like I said before, it's a TikTok society, so it's quick shots. So people want to see something memorable. So no one will remember who won or lost in my match, but they'll be like, man, that time when you stopped the guy and you caught him on the top rope, you twisted his nuts, and then you flipped him off the top. That was great, So it's the things that you do that make who you are, go with your character, and that people will remember. And so it's fun. I can do family shows, and I can do 21 plus shows or no rope, no ring bar fights, and it's cool to be able to do that and have that chance.
And that was going to be my question. What do you kind of do to, you got a character, you got all the stuff. What do you kind of do to keep it from going stale or keep it from getting boring? And you kind of answer that there. You're always kind of thinking outside the box, going from different concepts, saying, "Hey, what are people doing?" I take it you probably watch a lot of wrestling, see what's already out there to make sure you can grab something new.
I used to when I was a fan, but as I grew older and I stayed in wrestling, I stopped because I didn't want to subconsciously take stuff that I saw on TV. So I was like, man, if I watch it too much, I might end up being influenced by it. So, but I like to watch clips when people send me like example when like Dean Ambrose or John Moxley when he just did his switch to AEW to see his entrance. The first time like seeing Orange Cassidy, how his character is going to work with a big crowd. Will they get it? And stuff like that. So that's always fun stuff for me. Guys' debuts are always awesome to watch. But to follow all the stories, I think the only way that I see people that were out of wrestling come back into wrestling years later is because they have kids and their kids are starting to watch wrestling. So it's kind of like your way to kind of connect with your kids where you're like, man, it's interesting. I used to love this stuff. I stopped for a while, but then my kid loves it. So now we have something to talk about and reconnect with.
Yeah, definitely. And that's kind of like, I watched a little bit. Maybe I started getting, like I said, I took a break from all things wrestling, probably from like 2003 until 2017. Just, life happens. 20s are a wild time in life. And when I got out of high school, I wanted to be a pro wrestler. It's something that I want to do. I grew up, like I said, in that era. I was in love with ECW at the time. Backyard wrestling was huge. People were fighting each other on the weekends. Things were going crazy. I was all set. I had it in my head. I went down there to the Killer Kowalski School of Wrestling. Said, I want to be a pro wrestler. He looks at me. I'm about 121 pounds, about 5'8". He goes, I'm sorry, sir. I'm not even going to take your money. You're not going to be a pro wrestler. And I'm like, I figured that much. Because, at the time, not for nothing, it was all big guys,
Yeah.
larger than life wrestlers. Now you have people like John Cena, Brock Lesnar entering, John Cena, the Undertaker. Forget about it. I wouldn't compare nothing to that. I went into boxing. I did some other avenues, did graphics, web design, all this fun shit. Marketing. And in 2017, I was doing comedy with a friend, and we were running a comedy channel. And I said to him, I said, I used to laugh my ass off watching some of these wrestling promos, especially in the 80s. These guys would be so zonked out on drugs. They would be just going off the charts. You got to check this shit out. And I called them over, and we were watching. And I came across this one. It's Macho Man. He's having the time of his life. He's talking. And all of a sudden, at the end of it, he's like, and he just like inhales. And all of a sudden, he stops and pauses. And you can see his pupils dilate. He's like, whoa. And then it just cuts. And he goes off to the match. And you're just like, okay, he was way coked out and just got the last bit. And this is great. This is entertaining. And this is what I want to see. So we started doing some, fun shit like that. We made promos, fun stuff, just promos, no wrestling. I've done some stuff. I've learned some stuff. I've, done some taping and stuff. But, we just wanted to do promos, just have fun with it. And, it went into more than that. I ended up podcasting and getting into doing interviews and really getting into the indie scene because I started to really like it. And then my kid was born, and then he started to enjoy it. I introduced him to wrestling at a very young age, probably way too young. He was like 1, and I'm like, yo, check this out. Oh, look at this guy. And it wasn't even like WWE. Like it was like what are you watching? Oh, IWTV. Hey, check this guy out. Hey, look who's on this channel. And so he knows all these names, and most of them are indie guys, and he knows the big names on TV. And now he's like 5, and he really loves it. Now he's starting to get into it. He wants to go to shows, and it's perfect because now I feel like he's at the age I can bring him to a show, and he actually can sit there, not get up after 5 minutes and go, "Can we go home now?"
Yeah, he stays awake during the whole time and stuff, and that's awesome. And some kids won't even sit in their chairs, or they'll stand on their seats. They're so excited, So when a match is done well, they're like really into it. So that's an awesome thing to see. And that's we all get into wrestling because we want to make a job out of it when we start out. As I got older, I'm seeing the window, like the window closes of the age gap and everything, and if you could still do it for a living. And then as you get more old, it's like you watch the magic still in the kids that are there, and I'm like, that's what made me passionate about it again, for the people there, how I can lighten them up and man, make their day, make their week. You know what I mean? If they see a wrestling show and they're like, you forget about your work, you forget about school, make as much noise as you can, boo the bad guys, cheer the good guys, and just let it all out. Get all that emotion out, because that's what that's like, it's like a second pay, basically. Money is nice, but we want to work, and if we work good, we get the reactions that we want. That's a great payoff too,
It is, and I mean, even when I started the podcast, it wasn't supposed to be for anything but fun, and it took off. We did very well. It got good subscribers. It brought in some income. It brings in some income, and it's like the income goes right back into whatever we're doing, wrestling.
Yeah,
and that's what it's always been about. It's always just been about the wrestling. Going to shows, and I go to shows many reasons. I like to go to shows, as a fan of wrestling, because I like to watch, wrestling. I find it easier and more. I found at home. I mean, granted, I like IWTV, but if I'm at home watching wrestling, I never actually get to watch wrestling. Somebody grabs me, somebody pulls me here. I don't get to focus on wrestling. I also like to film, and take photos. So I also like to bring my camera and take film and photos. I like to talk to the wrestlers. There's people that I see at every show. There's people that we talked about earlier that that I've seen on the smallest venues that now have made it to Japan, to AEW, back and forth, WWE, back and forth. People that have gone all over the place. And you start to talk to them, and it's pretty cool. And that's the thing. You were saying about Indie Show earlier how some might land on your lap, something like this. Guess what else you get to do? You get to talk to these guys and girls during intermission. That's something you don't get to do in WWE, not unless you pay $5,000 before the show.
Exactly, you gotta pay big money for the meet and greets, and we're talking about kids traveling. Like I think in 1 week, our boy Marcus Mathers is going to Japan for his first time. The kid just turned 21. How cool is that? You know what I'm saying? It's awesome.
And there's a kid I remember seeing on IWTV 100, win a briefcase and, going, hey, this kid's going to be somewhere someday. And, he's already come to fruition. He's already kicking ass. He's already on IWTV making a name. We're blessed, I think, in an era of wrestling that we have a lot of talent and people just keep, on the indie scene, everybody just kind of keeps pushing the limits. So everybody keeps doing better and better. Everybody wants to succeed. And there's a lot of places to succeed. It's not just that one avenue anymore. Oh, I got to make it here or I'm not a success. Now I can be like any of these places and be a success.
Yeah.
And, while the window of opportunity to be, 100% wrestler is not there, there's so many opportunities now to even, be a part-time wrestler and do other cool things. There's podcasts and there's internet, there's social media marketing, there's social media itself, there's merch. Merch can be sold now easier than anything. Where I'm sure, when you started, merch was just, kind of hard. It's like people weren't even accepting credit cards at the time.
Exactly. Now when you got like pro wrestling tees, you got a lot more options, which I'm still old school. And to bring stuff to shows is like what I know. That's what I was doing. But now you got a lot of people that have like cash apps and things like that where you can buy them easily like that. I'm glad that you stayed into wrestling because it's too bad. Killer Kowalski could have had you as a ref, even. Like, if he would have said you're too small, but maybe the passion you would have seen, and sometimes you're on the ropes or something, and he would have been, oh, we can use you for something. It's too bad that he said that right away. He judged you, but like you have that passion, and guys like me, we're all thankful that for everyone we help each other out. I mean, with the podcast you do, with the love that you come to the shows, and with your son, it's like, we're just paying it forward and we're making the independent wrestling circle even stronger. So, awesome job too for what you do and that you stayed in there. It didn't discourage you. And you were like, you could have said, fuck wrestling and do something else. So it's a shame that Kowalski didn't think like, what, let me at least see him on a couple of shows. You always need a ref or a manager, things like that. So, shame on him, but, thank you for everything you've done and that you keep doing, man.
Oh, yeah, no, and thank you. And thank you guys for always, going out there and doing what you guys do. Because, it's not, what people think it is. I was just on a podcast recently talking with a bunch of wrestlers about, the misconceptions of pro wrestling and the dangers of pro wrestling and what can actually happen. And, while you see something that's scripted, well, guess what? There's real ramifications of what happens in the ring, whether it's long-term ramifications, whether your knees start to go, hips start to go, whether it's short-term ramifications, you break something and you're out in injury. The injuries are very real. Things in wrestling happen. And every time somebody goes into the ring, the best trained wrestlers in the world still get injured. So you're taking a risk, and you do it at the expense of, entertainment. Not a lot of guys make a lot of money. Not everybody's making the big bucks. But there's still people that go out there that I know personally that don't make a lot that will give it their all because of that. They'll give it their all for the fans. They'll give it all for that moment, in front of the children to get them to believe in wrestling, to get them to stick with wrestling. And Killer Kowalski probably could have used me. I probably acted too much like a mark. I was a big fan. I probably asked for an autograph.
We didn't know
I probably asked for an autograph. That's what I probably did if I think about it. But
yeah, I
did go into, like I said, amateur boxing, and it was something that was weight class. So it was like, okay, well now it doesn't matter where you are. And I did some of that, and like I said, the wrestling came back into my life, and it's kind of like something, what they say, if you throw something, let it fly, and it comes back, it's meant to be, and that's kind of like how pro wrestling was. It went and came back. And I have done some shows, not repping. Actually, yeah, I did actually. I think I reffed one show, and then they threw me in the ring a few times. Some people have shown me some bumps, nothing major. I'm not doing, crazy, spots or anything, but a couple bumps, couple punches, couple silly things. I've worked a few shows, helped a few tapings, done a few fun things in the industry, for YouTube and stuff. And now I just really honestly enjoy doing what we're doing, interviewing wrestlers that are out there and talking to them and getting people into them. Because there's, still a lot of people that don't know how cool wrestling is. They still think it's, 1994 where the guy with the clown mask is coming out facing the guy looking like the Repo Man, and nobody's realized that there's a lot of just cool characters now on the scene.
Yeah, I the easiest way to say it to someone who's not a wrestling fan, and I tell them, just come to a show. Come, no expectations, man. Sit back, bring your popcorn, bring your kids, and watch. You don't have to boo, you don't have to cheer. At least watch your kid get into it and see how it goes. But like, you go see a movie and there's no actor that does all his stunts. I mean, other than like Jackie Chan or someone, but like, when you're watching Tom Cruise jumping from one plane to another, or Vin Diesel driving a car over a bridge and landing it, it's not those people doing it. Here, we're doing our stuff. It might not be as you see it on TV, the way the camera cuts and stuff, but sit back, enjoy the show. That way, and I'm sure you'll think of it differently, and that's what I tell a lot of people. Instead of trying to defend it with words, when you've been doing it as long as I have scars to show on my body that, again, when we say wrestling isn't fake, yeah, we're just working together to make a great entertaining show. So that's how I explain it to people. Not as much with the words, but I say come to a show and you'll see what I mean. We'll put you on an emotional roller coaster. You'll feel it. You got to come. You got to live it live to really enjoy it.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing. And I was talking to someone because there's been some movies out there. There's a movie called Kill City Cup. It was put up by a wrestler, Luke Robert. He used a few AEW, WCW, WWE guys, AEW guys, indie guys. It's about an hour run. It's called Kill City Cup, and there's some. It's a blend of basically your favorite movie. I mean your favorite video game times. Like pro wrestling times, like this, like almost Bloodsport kind of feel, kind of this like dystopian feel. The whole thing takes place in about an hour, but there's acting involved. There's cutscene, people are talking, and I said to her after, I was like, wrestlers are the perfect actors because they come with their own stuntman. Nobody needs them to need a secondary. They can do their own fight scenes. Like the fight scenes for a wrestler in a movie must be like awesome because they're already used to the punching, they're already used to the kicking, they're already used to doing it all. And I'm seeing other wrestlers in movies too, and I've asked them kind of the similar thing. It's like, yeah, it's like almost second nature. Like I'm already a character anyways. What's the difference to play another character or to take this character and just change a little bit into what they want? And I feel that that's what's great about wrestling. It's so adaptable. You can adapt your character, like you said earlier. You can play for that younger crowd, or you can turn it all the way up to a 21 plus triple X show and almost get right to that line of everyone's like, "Oh my God, what did he just do?" I just saw a clip viral online this week. It was, I think, out of Vegas on the guy in a go wrestling. The guy, he had the staple gun. He flipped the girl right between the legs.
Yeah.
Thing went wild, crazy wrestling. But I mean, that kind of shit, that's what makes wrestling so entertaining now, that you can even see stuff like that. That you can turn and say, hey, that's wrestling. And then you can turn and see, two really well professional guys that are really well trained doing the most technical shit and be like, hey, that's pro wrestling too.
I can describe wrestling. I've told someone the analogy of like music. There's classical is one type of music. So is heavy metal. So is punk. So like you can have a little bit of anything. They're all music, but it's different styles. And even then, when that's why I say like deathmatch wrestling is like punk music. It's really, it's specific. It's hardcore. And that's what it is. And that's still some of the best fans that I've met, where they'll come and see you. They want to see what limits you could take your body. But when something happens, they're ready to take care of you, and they want to party with you too. I mean, Tournament of Death, I need to get 21 stitches. So some of the guys from that show, they brought me in their pickup truck and they drove me to the hospital. There was still the main event was going to happen, but these guys wanted to make sure that I don't bleed to death and die. They had just met me. So again, that's a shout out to Delaware Mike. That's 20 years ago that, he brought me to the hospital and stuff like that. And again, you paid your ticket to go see that, but they want to see the limits you'll go, but they also want to make sure that at the end of the night, you can still party with them and drink as many beers as you can with them. And it's just a fun, great atmosphere. So, again, that's a special part of my heart goes to the deathmatch wrestling community because, they open their arms to me and they open their arms to everybody that steps foot in the ring and is ready to take it to that next level. It's not for everybody, but when it's done properly, those fans really appreciate it, and they're there to take care of you too. So again, special shout out to all the deathmatch wrestling fans because you did help SeXXXy has helped put me on the map. It's not just all the girls that got pregnant all over in the States that put me on those maps, but in the wrestling scene, I have them to thank a lot for it. Then other people saw me wrestle, other people saw me do comedy, stuff like that. Like I said, try a little bit of everything. You got to hide your weaknesses and work on them, showcase your strengths. So while you're working on your matches everywhere you go, still practice the stuff that you need to brush up on it. Not everybody is naturally funny. Not everyone wants to do death matches. But if you learn all the secrets, just like a good magician would do, the more tricks the more sleight of hand you can do, the more that you'll get bookings and the more places you'll go. I'm forever learning, and I'm going to keep learning. There's stuff that I don't know yet that some guys, maybe 2 years in the business, know. We're all at different levels. And again, especially the young kids are like sponges. They'll absorb anything wrestling. I try to remember. I can't remember what I had for breakfast 2 days ago. So that's what I'm saying. Things just bounce off my head. That's from all the chair shots and all the missed tables that I hitting straight on the ground. But that's the life of a wrestler. And, you can't go back in time. There's nothing that I regret. There's nothing that I'd change. I had a great ride. I'm still riding on that train. And, who knows how many more stations I'm gonna dock in there and how many more girls I'm going to meet. But that's the fun adventure of it because every weekend is an adventure with Sexy Eddy.
And that's what I think is great. That scene you just talked about, the death match scene, it has become such, I think, an evolved scene. Again, where you do have now this like a blend of comedy. You got people that are acting more funny, but you got, like you said, you got you on there. You got people like Effie on there. He's not, he's a deathcore, hardcore wrestler, but he's also very funny. He can kind of come down and be funny and just kind of slow the pace. I got to see him wrestle. I went out to Jersey a couple of years ago to it was Moxley versus Nick Gage, and I had never been to the to Jersey for GCW, and my God, what an
Great match. Great match.
Right on the boardwalk, though, what an environment! That whole atmosphere, the whole crowd, everybody's like one big ass family. It's insane. And the show was funny. You laugh in 1 minute, the next minute you're like, oh my God, you're getting hit with glass. There's glass shooting everywhere. Then there'll be another funny spot, something joking. And that's just the cool thing about wrestling. There's like you said, a spot for everybody to kind of just do what they do the best and just shine in and make that whole show just beautiful.
Yeah. No, it's there, and that's the thing. There's something like for everybody. If all the matches were technical, if all the matches were one way, one style, you'll lose a lot of fans. When we say wrestling is whatever we want it to be, and that's what it is. That's what makes it so beautiful, and that's what makes it a fun atmosphere right now, especially to the point where it's not like the old days where people were trying to push everyone down because they thought that they might lose a spot. Now everyone's trying to lift each other up all together. They know the better the wrestlers are, the better the show's going to be. And the better your opponent is, the better you're going to perform. So I
And that's
feel
the
that
thing.
there's more a sense of working together than there was before. And that's awesome.
Yeah, it is, and I preach this all the time, not just to wrestling. I love seeing when promotions will like, it might just be one match, it might just be whatever, but they'll have like their title defended on another show. I love seeing the interpromotional work. I think it's beautiful. I think it's like, hey, it just goes to show you that we're one industry. It's not making fans choose between promotions. Hey, I need to follow this one.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's not promotions that fans follow, it's actually the wrestlers. They're going where the wrestlers are working. So when you start making them choose, it's like, what am I going to do? And they just get disappointed. It's not a fun experience to have to choose. But when you start seeing, places work together, it is nice. And I say it in the podcasting world all the time, there's a lot of listeners out there. Guess what? They can listen to me and listen to you and not even hear the same thing.
Yeah.
And they can do both. Like you said, you can listen to 20 different types of music. It's okay. It's okay to listen to more than one. You don't have to just be hooked on rock and rap or whatever it is. You can, delve into classical when you're feeling one way and delve into heavy metal when you're feeling another and fucking, electronic when you want another, and that's how wrestling is. You can, I'm in the mood for some fucking violence. Let's, put on the Bloodsport. I want to see some good classic old school funny shit. But let's put on King Kong Bundy versus the Three Midgets. There's something there for everybody down the line.
That's what's awesome too with IWTV. Like, there's so many choices, and it's fun to have more options. The first time when I saw a tape from Japan, Frontier Martial Arts Wrestling as a FMW, and when I first time I saw Wing, and I'm like, I was watching, man, I think it was Mr. Pogo against Matsunaga, the guy, Mr. Danger. And man, I think it was like either as they called it like a desert death match. And it was like there was cactus in each corner, and in the middle there was an aquarium with scorpions. And I was like, holy shit, this is wrestling too? I was hooked. And then I got my first ECW tape. And when you got to see Barely Legal, man, that blew my mind because I always thought that was only one way. And now, even you go in different countries, I know it was blowing up on the internet was these matches in Africa, and they're like on the dirt, and there's just
Nigeria, Nigerian wrestling's huge.
And the kids are like giving more, they're bumping more than other guys will bump, and they're going crazy. But like, man, people were like talking about it. And you're seeing that like in Mexico in Zona 23, guys are bumping on cars and stuff and doing things like they're wrestling in a car junkyard. I'm like, there's so many things that I didn't think possible that you're seeing it expand. And in every country has their version of wrestling or their version of rules and things like that. They're all influenced. You can see if they have the WWE influence or whatever, but they're just showing their love for wrestling, and they're doing it their own way. They're giving it their own style. They're giving it their own flavor. So it's cool to see wrestling all around the world, and able to see their differences too. So it's really cool to see that.
It really is. And you never know what's going to happen with it because, honestly, that's kind of like how ECW started. They took a little from the NWA, they took a little from WWE, they took a little WCW, but they did it all their own way and how they wanted it. And that's, they did things that nobody else in the industry were doing. They were having matches nobody else was doing. I got into deathmatch wrestling in a weird ass way. I got a hold of an ICP Stranglemania tape.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I burnt that tape so many times because I was just laughing my ass off.
For like the first 5 years, I really thought the guy's name was Cactus Sack. I didn't realize that they couldn't say the real names. Because videos were videos. Being in the Northeast, we had access to probably every WWE tape. But getting outside of that, I had to really like search and dig deep, especially in the '90s. 2000s was a little bit easier when the internet
Yeah,
kind of got open. But even the earliest Yahoo chats, you had to like meet people. It wasn't like today where you could just, hey, I'm gonna go download something. Let me go find it,
yeah,
and you can go search for it. But I got into it through that when I was like, wow, I'm seeing things explode. I'm seeing people bleed. I'm like, I've seen wrestlers bleed, but not like this. I'm like, is wrestling real in Japan? Are they doing things different over there? Like it made me question like what I already knew for a second, because it's like, okay, I know there's no way you can bullshit your way through that. The guy just hit barbed wire and you can see it tear through his skin.
yeah,
And it got me into thinking and seeing wrestling in a different light. But there was that emergence, where everybody was trying to do something a little bit bigger, better, badder, harder to try to be the next, hardcore thing. You had XPW pop up, what's his name, doing his freaking shit until he got arrested. I don't know, he came back too. And I have to say, I went to his return show and I was very disappointed. He did an XPW show in fucking New York.
yeah.
How do you do a death match? Like, he had Slack in there. And you throw Slack in there, the dude starts bleeding 5 minutes. It's New York. The commission is coming right in and stopping the bout.
That's
It's
crazy.
New
Yeah,
York.
every state with every rule, and it's like some of them have to go out of state, go to different states where there's less rules. I think that's why there's maybe oversaturation of deathmatch wrestling in New Jersey, and you don't get to see it. Like guys will have to travel there to see it. Where there's sometimes the same weekend there's 3 deathmatch shows happening,
So
and
everybody will crowd because of the laws and kind of stay out of New York. But when like you see a show in New York, it's much more technical.
yeah,
But
yeah, but I mean, it's too bad that it's like that because my first death match was in Delaware because they said, "Oh, there's no rules here." Philly changed, and I think in Philadelphia too, where we used to do some crazy shit. Now I think it's like no barbed wires allowed, no fire. There's a lot more rules and no glass that changed, and I mean, man,
Mass is weird. Mass, I believe. I mean, we did a show a couple of years in 21. My friends, I had some veteran wrestlers that have been in the industry back and forth. They wanted to put on a show. I said, "Let me help you. We're gonna put on a show." We ended up renting in a UFC training facility. So we didn't do a ring. We did a UFC cage.
yeah.
And it's hard as a rock. It's like a boxing ring. It's really hard. But the main event, the guy was like, "You can do whatever the fuck you want. Just don't do it in the cage." So, I got some nice glass tubes. They were bashing each other. They were having fun outside the cage. But I guess in Mass, you can do whatever you kind of want. It's up to the owner, the venue. The only thing you can't call anything is that you can't use the word death in the match. You can't call it a death match.
Oh, okay.
You have to call it a hardcore match or a street fight or a no holds barred.
Yeah, it's funny, crazy rules like that. You can smash each other with glass, but you can't use the word death. Like you can make it look like you're killing the guy, but you can't use the word. It's weird. Weird rules in every state. It's hard to follow.
But then you can watch real UFC where they really do fucking go in there and bash somebody in 20 seconds. And it's
yeah,
like, okay, well, that's cool. It's like, well, the place I just couldn't watch death wrestling had a commissioner and a freaking all the same doctors that you all just had. They had to go through the same protocol almost.
yeah.
Because every state's different. Some places still require licenses. Mass doesn't, but other states do. You have to, where if you're a traveling wrestler, you have to know your laws of where you're going.
Exactly. And I'm like, you hope the booker explains some stuff beforehand, like, and it just like it's happened to me sometimes where the people will book me and I'm like, use me to my full potential. If you know I can do this, don't book me in a match where like, okay, you wear too little. We're gonna have to wear more clothes. Oh, you can't do any of these moves that you usually do. You can't say this, you can't do that. And I'm like, man, why are you booking me then? Like
If I'm known for dick tricks and fucking sexy shit, you're booking SeXXXy Eddy. Bring in SeXXXy Eddy. Come on.
it just makes more sense. I don't mind. I can work around anything. But again, if I don't know if you're gonna go out with a Playboy model and you're just gonna go to the movies with her and not do anything, I'd be like, man, you're wasting away here, like ah, you're gonna pay an escort just to go for dinner? I mean, that's throwing away your money. That's how I look.
If you're that lonely, I feel bad. I'll go to dinner with you for some cash. Shit. Let me ask you, have you ever, I got a few more questions. I won't keep
Yeah,
you up on. So I know you probably got some girls that's lined up, ready, waiting
they're ready
somewhere.
to wait. I'll wake them up. I'll wake them up when they're ready. We're ready to go.
Have you ever, what's one like time in your career that you've been in a match and all of a sudden, or even after the match, you've been like, damn, wow, I just did that. Like, I made it. Like, this is like, I feel on top of the world right now. Here I am.
Man, I want to say like a couple times that happened. My first time at the ECW arena for Combat Zone Wrestling. When my music hit, I'd just come back from Bleeding, the Tournament of Death, a few months before, and I got a hero's welcome. That's one of my favorites, where the first note of my music hits, and I didn't even come out of the curtain yet, and everybody's standing on their feet. And if you can win the crowd in Philly, they're some of the toughest crowd to win over. So for me, that was such an accomplishment. That was one of my best feelings in wrestling. Um, I think also like my first times traveling overseas was amazing, especially in Japan because it's a mecca for wrestling. It's wrestling is so respected in that country. It's awesome. It's impossible to explain. You have to be there to understand it. And where you come from, your hometown, you might randomly walk into a Walmart and see someone that came to a show, but I'm in Japan, never been there before, eating at a restaurant, and someone comes up to me with a magazine to sign. It was such a special, awesome feeling. Going to some of the stores that sell wrestling DVDs and masks and things, and I see a whole section of IWS wrestling. Man, that's where I come from, and they're selling DVDs. Next to that, you got the Combat Zone Wrestling DVDs that I was on. I went up to the store manager and I'm like, can I sign some of these? It's more for myself, but if it raises the value of them, and they're like, yeah, cool. And I mean, I felt I felt like everything that I had done throughout my career had finally culminated into this moment where I'm like, wow, this country really appreciates wrestling and appreciates what everybody in every country has done. So that's an awesome feeling. That was one of my favorite feelings too. Just being in Japan and even being able to main event a show in Osaka, Japan. I'm like, man, again, who am I? I'm just again. Sometimes I refer to myself. I'm just a guy who loved wrestling that did some training and then got into wrestling. And then after that, stopped wrestling to do my dick tricks, to do my cock spots. I still throw in some wrestling, but who knows what people will remember me in the future? Will it be the blood that I did, the blood matches? Will it be the fun stuff? Or will it be just maybe the old nice guy that hung out backstage and that told people to have sex with a condom on? You know what I mean? Like, giving my life advice because nobody wants to hear my wrestling advice because, I forgot that a long time ago. But if you want to know, the 3 steps on how to get a girl in bed, then I'm like, I'm the one to come and talk to me, and I'll tell you what works, what doesn't work. And then if you want to school me on wrestling, that's awesome too. So I just want to talk to everybody about everything. And again, don't be shy. If you're a fan after the show or intermission, come talk to me. Come buy our merch. Come encourage us because, like I said, you never know. You might be talking to the next big thing. I'm an old thing, but still, come and talk to me. And as long as I got an alcohol in my hand, if you buy me a drink, I drink fast. So if you buy me a drink, I'll talk to you all night. But I drink fast, so you're gonna have to buy me a lot of drinks. But just come and encourage us. Come and tell us you appreciated the show. That makes our night too. So we're always gonna appreciate that. Never get too big that you don't appreciate your fans because they're the one that bring you there. They're the ones that keep you going on and doing shows. And You know, everyone you meet going up to the top, you're eventually going to come back down. When you're coming back down, you're going to see them. So don't shit on all them. Don't shit on those people. They're the people that are helping you out, helping this you feed your passion for wrestling. So again, sometimes there's some wisdom way back in here. If I can pull it out to help some of the young guys and skip some steps so they can get to their goal even faster, then that's awesome. That's what I want to do. I want to just pay it forward, make this wrestling community non-toxic, make it a happy place, a positive place where we can all flourish and we can all learn from it, man. We just want to have fun in the end. In the end, it's all about having fun. So just keep fucking having fun, you know? As long as nobody's getting hurt, do whatever you got to do and have some fun out there.
And, that's what I love about it. You're able to have that fun. You're able to go out there and do these kinds of, dick trick spots. And to me, I find it humorous. I'm sure even my 5-year-old will find it humorous. He just got into that stage that everything's a fucking dick something. I don't even know. He's all about it. But I mean, to me, it's just, it's boy humor. It's something that, you might have watched, American Pie, or you might be older and watched Porky's and thought that was fucking funny as a kid, especially old Dick and the Hole trick. You can't get away with that today. Don't do shit like that. Don't stick your dick in the gymnasium hole and don't be doing that kind of stuff. But growing up and watching those 80 flicks and seeing that kind of shit, it's just kind of desensitized you to that kind of stuff. And when you grow older, you find your kind of shows funny. You find that kind of stuff. I get it's not for everyone, but I think it's funny. Because I know what it is. I know what it's about. I know it doesn't. I know where it ends. You know what I'm saying? Like we talked about. You know where it ends.
But even then, if someone's calling a tallywhacker, I start laughing and I think back to Porky's, I laugh my ass off because I know that they saw that film and they're referencing that. So, I mean, that's what we grew up on. Kids will grow up on different things now, and that's fine too. But you can't change the past with that. So,
so you kind of just are what you are and you kind of just grow at the time. But in the end, you find what you find funny.
Exactly.
And I got one more for you. And that is just, like I said, you've had, a great, illustrious career. You've worked a lot of big names, a lot of small names. You worked a lot of people. Is there anybody out there right now that you're just kind of looking to say, I want to have this match. This is someone I'm just dying to work right now.
Man, that's a good question. It's hard to say because as I've grown, my ideas of this have changed a lot. Man, off the top of my head, no, there's no one really. I mean, anyone who's in the ring who's willing to have fun, again, an open mind and stuff like that. I think that's the type of people that I do my best matches with. But right now, I'm just looking forward to I really like wrestling young up and newcomers because they kind of make that hamster that's in my head that's kind of drunk on the wheel. They make him kind of run again, and they give me ideas. And with their new ideas, I could put some of my old ideas in, and we make, like I say, we make a good story together. So I have fun wrestling the younger guys, the passionate ones that really eat, sleep, and dream wrestling. That's why I have fun wrestling with them and stuff. So because we learn from each other.
So you kind of want to, you would say you're not one of those vets that are because, they do exist. You sometimes say they're like, oh, fuck the green people, that let's steer them in the wrong direction. We don't want them stealing our spots. You got people like that. You got other people that just are all about giving in and giving back and showing the way because that is the future. They know they're not going to go forever. And that is the truth. No wrestler is going to be wrestling forever. You got to pass the torch somehow. Don't be like the Patriots, and he never taught anybody how to be as good as Brady, so we just sucked. You don't want to be there. You want to show somebody how to do something to lead. And I admire that in wrestlers. They want to see the whole industry succeed, and to do that, it is by teaching the new talent. It is by work with them. It might be showing them how to do things a little bit quicker than you had to go through at the time. Because now, they can save them time, money, effort, and they can get to where they have to be quicker and get to that next level a little bit faster. It doesn't hurt it doesn't hurt your character. It doesn't take away from your sales. You still have your fans. They still like you. Now you just help somebody else though, and you've made maybe his fans like you too. And that's
Yeah,
what it's all about. It really
exactly.
is. It is. The bonus question will be, what's the most wildest thing you've seen out there? You've seen it all, but have you ever seen something that's like blown you away?
In the ring or backstage, like, or even like at the hotel room.
Anywhere, man. Like, I like to hear good stories.
I'll tell you a great story. So, way back in the day, me and Viking, was a former wrestler, we were a tag team, and we're back at the hotel room. One of the wrestlers was like, "Yo, Sexy Eddy, there's a girl that really wants to meet you." So she came back to the hotel room. Again, this is years before everything that happened and stuff. And anyways, we're drinking, we're taking pills, we're going crazy because we hadn't seen some of our homies in like a year or 2 years and stuff. So we were just having fun. We just did a fucking deathmatch tournament. We're all alive, so we're all happy. Anyways, the girl wanted to have some fun, and like I said, we were under the influence, under everything under the sun, except for me for weed, but everything else is legal tender for
Are you
me.
anti-weed or you just can't? It just makes you
Dude,
nervous?
if I take a puff, if I need an edible, I'll be in the fucking corner sucking my thumb and not talking to anyone. My wife will go smoke. She'll have some puffs.
I'm
But
the opposite. I need to start smoking to get off of the thumb sucking. Shit.
it's different for everybody. I mean, I'm gonna go with this story a little bit, and I'm gonna go into a more PG story. But let's just say it ended with me and Viking deciding that the only way to be a true tag team is to have both our fingers in the girl inside the girl and tagging, and we got the juice splashing all over. And I said, "This is what tag team is all about. We ain't gonna get any closer than this, brother." And we had a grand old time. But to get with the weed story, man, and again, I want to thank you for you actually inviting me on 420 on April 20th. And I said, no, man, I don't want to take that coveted spot off somebody who smokes and somebody that deserves that. So that's why I said, look, we'll make it another day, and we did another day, and we made it happen. So I took an edible at a Jack White concert, and with a couple of buddies, and when it started kicking in, that's when my buddies disappeared. I was looking over my right shoulder, and no one was there. I never looked over my left shoulder. That's where they all were, but I kept looking over my right. And as the show's going on, I'm like, my friends abandoned me. Do I look for them or do I stay in my spot? I stayed in my spot. I'm watching the concert, and all I see is Jack White kind of giving me an eye for what I believed. And I was like, man, I'm not clapping loud enough for Jack White. He's gonna he looks like he's mad at me. So I'm clapping it up. I'm amping it up after every fucking song. I'm yeah, and trying to get everyone, come on, man, and he's still looking mad at me. And I was just like, I wasn't loud enough. So that whole concert, I thought he didn't like me, and I lost my friends, and it was just a crazy time. So then at the end of the concert, I get the tap on my shoulder. I'm like, Eddy, you okay? And I'm like, where were you guys? They're like, we were here the whole time. You just never looked over that shoulder. You were looking over the other side. And I'm like, wow. It stayed with me for a long time. So when all my buddies, they make fun of me, and there's like, hey, there's Sexy Eddy. He's A to the Y. So Iron Sheik used to be A to the Z, means he does everything, all the drugs. But when they say Sexy Eddy, he does A to the Y. So the only thing he doesn't do is weed, because it just doesn't work with me. It just doesn't work on my system. So yeah, you'll offer me a puff, I'll have to decline. But you give me some white stuff, and I'll do the line. I was just looking for time there. But yeah, no, my favorite, again, my favorite drugs. We all have our favorites. I'll dabble with some speed, with some Molly, and then if I'm feeling crazy, I might do an acid trip. But and again, alcohol. I'm in love with the Loco, the Four Loco too. That's my thing. Again, shout out to Low Life Louie. He's my man from Jersey who fucking reps the Four Loco every day, every motherfucking day. So yeah, shout out to the big man. I'm all here to have fun. As long as I can stand on my 2 feet. As long as I don't wake up with my dick in my hands, I know I'm having a good time.
You want to wake up with it in somebody else's hands, obviously. I mean,
Then there you go. I mean, that's the goal. But a lot of times I've been like, where the fuck am I? I didn't even get in the hotel room. I fell asleep outside the door of the hotel room. Sometimes in my underwear. Shit has happened. I've done a lot of great stories. If you ask some of the other people that'll be on your show, if they know Sexy Eddy, they might have a Sexy Eddy story for you. It'll just add to the aura, add to the legendary status.
Something you don't even remember, maybe something you weren't even, you were there but weren't there.
I was there, but I wasn't there. That's what makes great stories. That would make great road trips. When people have been wrestling for so long, they might not remember everything they've done, but if other people remember you by those things, then that's awesome too.
You know what? I'll be honest. I've never heard anything bad. I've never heard anything. Oh, that fucking guy Eddy. Well, fuck Eddy. I've never heard nothing like that. I've always heard, you haven't, Eddy? That's it. What? Huh? They love you, man. And I mean, and that just speaks volume because I talk to a lot of wrestlers. I don't talking to fans. I'm talking to other pro wrestlers. Some people you may have worked with. Some people you might not. I don't know. I mean, but I talk to a lot of guys and girls. And I'm like, look at this guy. Who's this guy? They give me names. They show me names. I find names. I do a lot of searching. I unfortunately don't. With the kid, you don't have a lot of time to watch a lot of wrestling. So yeah, I kind of got to do the whole, what's trending here, who's working there, kind of thing. I don't got a time to sit and watch one show. Never mind 17 shows to catch up to my indie scene. Yeah. But you see names, you see shows, you see people, you see things in Jersey. I love that Jersey scene, H2O Center, what happens out there. I got really big out there in 21. I had a lot of fun. I went out there. I went to one of my favorite promotions, VXS. It was having the show there, and then the next day was the Camp Leapfrog IWTV 100. And we just, we had a fun. We went to this the shittiest dive. It smelled like cigarette smoke. It was $59 for the night. I was able to smoke as much weed in there and still not get rid of the smell. It was beautiful. And we just made a night of it. And that to me was just being a fan. It was 102 degrees the next day. And, we had sponsored the show. We had put money behind it. We wanted to see it. We wanted to see the wrestlers we wanted to see. We drove 8 hours to go to it. We're like, fuck it. We're traveling the same distance as some of the guys and girls. And we're just like, you know what? We're here for the fuck of it. We're here because we like it. We're here for you guys.
The journey is all part of it too, man. It's like the memories that you make on the road, driving up there, the stories that you guys, you tell while getting there. The show is only part of it. It's everything that leads up to it. Where we eat together, where all that stuff. Even after the show, the hotel room. I mean, if there's a party or if people got to go to sleep, they'll get up early or something like that. But that's all part of the adventure it's not just the match or the show itself. It's the getting there, the coming back. It's the whole weekend. So when you get to do this every weekend, and with different people too, it's fucking awesome. So to everybody out there, especially man, I'm telling you, it's never too late to ref a match. You know what I'm saying? Get in there.
I'm gonna have to look at schools, honestly. Maybe this is the year I got to, settle down, look at a school, try to decide, hey, I want to learn something.
If I see you, man, and if I see you at the show and I'm fucking fighting Jimmy Lloyd, you might have to pick sides because you might have to chop one of us. And I hope that now I've been on your show in the same month that I'll be going down there. If you're at the show, you better make the right decision. Okay?
There won't be no Montreal screw job with you, buddy. I promise you that one. Okay, I know where my cards lie here. Okay, good. They're going with second because we're having a party after the match, so I better be invited to that.
There you go. There you go.
I might be the Versace story, I might dabble here and there as well, but I like a good time above all. I like good people even more than that, and you are one of them, sir.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
And that's what keeps me coming back. I tell my wife, I don't go to WWE shows. I won't travel next door to them. I won't go to Boston with them because I can't mark out for these guys anymore. But I'll mark out for people like you. If I see you in a show 10 hours away, I'll try to get down there if I can. And with that saying, where can we find you next? Where are some shows you're going to be having next?
I got 3 shows not too far from my area. This weekend, tomorrow I'll be wrestling at VSW in Saint Martin, and then on Saturday I'm wrestling at IWS. We're doing a big show, Freedom to Fight at the Studio TD, downtown beautiful Montreal. Sunday I'll be wrestling for Interspecies Wrestling and Ganawage on the Reserve. It's a big toy convention going on. So my weekend this weekend is full. But like I said, I'm going to be in your neck of the woods at the end of the month. So I want to see you there. Sean Henderson presents his big birthday bash party. Me versus Jimmy Lloyd. Who else we got on the card? We got Colby Carino. We got Paul London. We got Brian Kendrick. So many more. A lot of first-time ever matches. So I want to see you there. H2O Center. We're going to tear the roof off that motherfucker.
What's the date on that show? Do you know it?
I was going to say, I'm looking at my calendar. It's May 30th, Thursday, May 30th.
You know something wild? My birthday is May 27th. So what a fucking place to try to celebrate. I'm going to have to get a ticket there tomorrow because, you know, that you want to pay that? Fuck it. We're getting tickets because you know what? The hell with it. Wife's out of town too. She's going to like Europe or some shit for 3 weeks. I can have some fucking really good time down in Jersey.
Like I said, I won't be able to smoke with you, but I'll have some beers with you. If you have a 12 pack,
drink a beer. I'll do a shot. I drink a little bit here and there. You know, I'm not always about smoke, but like I said, I like to have fun. I like to enjoy things. I like to see some good wrestling. I like to, you know, cheer people. You know, see people.
It's gonna be the place to be. You're gonna have fun. You're gonna see some good wrestling. It's gonna be everything in one right there, and it's gonna be a celebration, man. Because every time there's a wrestling show, there's a celebration. Because we're making people happy. We're making us happy. We're making the fans happy. Again, when I'm on the show, I just want to have a good time, and you're gonna see it. The fans especially know when the wrestlers are having a good time. The fans feel that energy. It amps it up, and then everybody's having a good time. So that's what we're gonna be doing, man. Thursday, May 30th. Let's all have a good time, brother.
Good times, good times. And for those people that can't go to, you know, Canada or can't get to these shows, how can they find you online? How can they check out SeXXXy Eddy and follow him?
I got places for you to see me. I'm on the Twitter. I'm on the Instagram. I'm on the MySpace. No, wait, I'm not on that anymore. We canceled the MySpace. Only the old people know what MySpace is.
Yeah, I know MySpace. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, I got only one Naked Eddy. One of my handles there. You got SeXXXy Eddy. If you see my friends list has a ton of wrestlers on it, then you know you're in the right place. You'll find out my show dates. You'll also find out I got my own hot sauce. It's only sold in Canada because I need to keep it cold. I can't send it over to the States. So again, got my new T-shirts. Again, I got a lot of action going on. You're never too old for wrestling. There's always going to be a place for you. I'm 46, but I feel more like 46 right now. So with that, I got to go get my dick sucked. I got to go get it wet and nice and deep, balls deep. So with that, man, I want to wish everybody a good night. Stay sexy because it's all up in here, man. Again, what you got in here is if it feels sexy, it'll make everything you got down there sexy. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you very much, SeXXXy. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. And you know what? Thank you, everybody at home, for watching. And as always, support indie wrestling. Versace Stoner out.